Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch the Movie. I'm Mike.
I'm Jay.
And we're both disappointed sexually and in the fact that Halloween, the trailer did not drop.
I have become extremely sexually frustrated. I don't even know what to do with my life right now except go and binge watch Dora the Explorer Season 1. Which I'm going to do. And you guys that are out there, you guys are... I'm not alone in that.
I'm more of a go, Diego, go kind of guy.
Well,
more inside baseball. A little more indie.
He's racist.
Probably. So this is the review for Upgrade. And I got to give Jay severe props right now, and I'm very sorry that...
I love it.
Based on...
let me bask in it. Wait.
Based on my strong
predictables
prediction that the Halloween trailer would drop today on June 1st, or maybe last night with the Upgrade premiere.
I have learned the many ways of Thanos, my child.
Yes.
Nothing comes as it seems.
Jay called into work today. And,
I did.
And
I don't know if I should be saying that out loud.
Completely pointless.
It was. I had the whole freaking day off.
You are now stupider for having presented yourself.
Yeah, but yet I had a whole day off and doing nothing but eating popcorn. And again, Dora the Explorer Season 1 was mine to champion.
Basically...
I did nothing. I just sat at home being very depressed and watching YouTube, hoping that something would crop up on Facebook that the trailer had been dropped.
It was a very sad day for all of us. And here's the risk, guys. The big risk, and what I'm really scared is going to happen is, okay, so today's Friday night, right? Mm-hmm. Friday night.
Which gets way to Saturday.
Right, it does. Typically, trailers don't drop Saturday and Sunday, in my experience at least. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
But this is Halloween.
This is Halloween. I guess the new, if you had to put a prediction, which we should stop with the goddamn Y2K shit. It's a fucking trailer, but damn, are we excited? Monday, Tuesday, maybe they give. Blumhouse said Jason Blum said early June. Like he said early June, so maybe they give Upgrade a little bit of time to breathe, and they drop it on Monday or Tuesday. If they don't, we're gonna be really fucked because I am leaving. On
a jet plane.
A little place called Minnesota.
Minnesota? Meaning the good land.
Yes. I'm leaving for Minnesota on Wednesday and won't be back till Saturday-ish. If the trailer's going to drop Wednesday morning. That's what that means.
So I'm going to... it'll be a solo adventure. I'll be bringing you the news. I'll be watching it alone and reviewing it with you guys just by my lonesome. And guess what? We'll do just fine.
You should film it on the toilet.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to film it on the toilet now. If it sucks, you're gonna hear one plop. It's like that's what I feel about the trailer.
Let's hear it for not wiping.
Yeah, I won't either. Just straight buckle up, West style. But yeah, either way, we're disappointed. It didn't drop during the front run part of Upgrade. But what we did get out of it, the good nougat in the middle of what we all expected to be the Halloween trailer, is a good goddamn movie.
Yes, we did.
Upgrade was fucking awesome, and I don't know, I know a lot of people out there, probably 27.2% of you, were going to go see it just for the movie alone. And luckily, Mike and I found ourselves in the 27.2%. We might have been on the 27.4%, but let's not worry about that little guy. That just wanted to go see a great movie, and it is. It's a throwback action film that has no apologies for being fucking goddamn graphic, violent, and in your face with... Does the plot somewhat make sense? Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but it's not exactly something. It's not an intellectual film by any stretch of the imagination. I like that. I know. I also like the fact that when you're done watching it, if you guys remember growing up in the 90s and getting used to those films like the Seagal, Van Damme type of era, it frees those animal spirits inside you, and you hear a Seagal and a Van Damme come out in the brightness of light, and you crank the fucking volume on your Sirius XM radio to nothing but George Thorogood, the Destroyers, Bad to the Bone when you're leaving the theater. I felt like that. I don't know if you guys felt like that, but I felt like that. I felt awesome.
What I did feel...
I felt upgraded.
I did feel... when you mentioned Steven Seagal, it reminded me, when I was watching this, there's a strong hard to kill vibe in this movie for a moment, because literally there's a tragedy that happens. We'll talk some spoilers maybe later in the podcast. We'll go straight to spoiler now. There's not a lot of... They didn't give away a lot of the reasons for the plot. In the trailer, which is cool, but so we won't either. But there's a tragedy that happens, and when he wakes up from it, he's got a beard, and I was like, fucking hard to kill.
It was, and the coolest thing about this is that Jason Blum was able to get in front of the whole thing and be like, look, Halloween may drop or it may not. He didn't really say it would or anything like that, but he maybe to some of us implied it, maybe to get a little traction going. And that was genius marketing on his part to get people to go see. I mean, because they did take a lot of time to make this film, and yes, it's not fucking, I don't know, Minority Report or anything. It's not Mission Impossible Fallout, but it's still a really cool ass flick that I think anybody that just wants to go have a good popcorn time at the theater would love to go see, just for that reason alone. And yeah, as far as like spoilers and stuff, there's really they were again really smart in the trailers. I mean, it's pretty easy to surmise what's going on. I think even in the plot on Wikipedia or IMDb, they say that a man seeks revenge for his family and then kind of encounters this machine thing that gives him the power to do so. It doesn't really give you enough to really go on as far as like, oh well, okay, I've already seen most of it. And it's not a tent pole kind of movie, but still well worth the fucking ticket price wherever you are. And just have a good time, and realize that after you're done watching this, that this is exactly what Siri is going to become in the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's good. They actually do touch on that whole voice thing and that whole thing, because it's based in the future. You get a lot of futuristic stuff, but we talked about this before. They don't go too far into the future.
Thank God.
It's not too crazy. It's a throwback movie, yeah. But what I love about this movie and it's weird, man. In the marketing,
bearded men.
Yeah, I love bearded men. Oh,
I know.
God. But no, in the marketing for this, it's very strange because there weren't a whole lot of trailers for it. A lot of people, when we talked about Halloween, came to us and were like, well, I don't even know what the fuck Upgrade is. They don't have a lot of faith in the fact of the movies. They have a lot of faith in the movie. Like, they love the movie. Blumhouse has been promoting the shit out of this movie on like Twitter and social media and stuff like that, and rightfully so, because it's a movie that needs to be seen. But it's weird how they've been doing it, because Lee Winnell even said, and we'll get into this in the spoiler talk later, but he even said, they asked him about a sequel, and he was like, look, I was pretty much told, like, you know what, you're making an action movie that's not a tentpole movie or whatever, and it's not going to make enough for a sequel. Based on how it's tracking, it's not going to make enough for a sequel. So, could it get a sequel? Yeah, and they could do a million cool things with it, and I hope that it does. And I got to say, my theater was full.
See, I had a really weird theater. I felt like the nursing homes got let out early, and it was like there was actually quite a few elderly folk in there.
The older population likes original content.
Yeah, but I was so weirded out because when I was sitting in the theater by my lonesome, I thought I was in the wrong fucking theater because it was limited. The release was limited, so I was like, did I choose the right movie? Was this the wrong movie? Did they?
It wasn't totally limited. I mean, it's
well, I mean, it's limited
theaters.
in our town or in where we can view movies.
Well,
but
no, it's not, because it's actually playing here. So that means
son
it's
of a
not
bitch! Why don't you just take a piss in my face? I'm
just correcting you.
Don't correct me in front of the public. But yeah, so either way, there was a lot of early bird specials that were there, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I was looking over and I was seeing like Grumpy Old Men Part 1 and Part 2 audience, and I was like, okay, so I'm not in the right movie, but by God, I was, and. But I didn't have a huge full audience. It was a small theater, and it was kind of an intimate thing. I kind of enjoyed it that way better. So when the cool-ass death scenes happen, when the cool-ass graphic scenes come on, I can actually, take up my meat and beat it, and nobody would say anything.
Yeah, you will, too.
I did. I totally did it in the darkness of that theater.
I've seen it.
I know.
I've seen it with my own two eyes.
Well, you helped me with it.
Don't tell people about that.
Not in private. Yeah, but anyway, either way,
I helped you watch the door so that you could finish. I didn't touch your wiener, Jay.
Well, you said you helped me with it.
I said I would.
I was filling blanks in, but yeah, that was a long night in Tijuana. We forget about that.
You can find that video on RedTube.
Oh God, was it on? I was hoping it was on something else, like a little bit classier.
I was using you for hits. It was the whole YouTube monetization thing, and I was like, I got to get some hits.
We should have gone to Pornhub. But yeah, anyway, the point of the matter is Mike had a full theater. I didn't have a full theater. But either way, it was one of those movies that I think is... It's not going to be an instant classic, but it's generational enough that it can reach... older folk that love those kind of movies and middle of the road, and then even younger ones, because when you're watching the film, the bad guys aren't exactly fleshed out, I guess, to a point where you're like, oh my God, they have so many different diabolical deeds and this or that, but they're fleshed out to just enough point where you're like, I fucking hate everything about them and I hope they get depression in their knee. Like, you're just very angry and upset about them. And also the overall motivations for what the guy's doing is pretty clear cut and easy to go with. There are a few moments in it though that you're like, okay, either shit or get off the pot, my friend, because you're making it seem you're taking us out of it.
The main guy is not sure. Logan Marshall Green is not sure whether he wants to go full on Kevin Bacon death sentence revenge, or he wants to take the
once you
the
commit
less,
this man's army, there's only one way up.
yeah, the less aggressive means of it, because you know from the trailers that a computer takes him over and it gives him the ability to be Jason Bourne basically. But there's some points like he wants to go on this revenge tour, and you want it to go there. You want it to go Charles Bronson full on out. But then at
You
weird
said the
points,
revenge tour. We're on the Kiss, the Kiss tour.
you want that, but then he'll stop and be like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, and then he'll go back, but then he'll keep investigating and trying to figure it out. It's like when you say shit or get off the pot, that's the perfect explanation for it. And that's one of the few things I could take away from this movie, because what I love about it is it's a movie, and it's bullshit, because look, a sci-fi movie like Ex Machina can come out, and because it's a little bit fucking artsy, and that's a good movie, I like that movie, I enjoyed it. Oscar Isaac did a great job in it, but because it's a little bit artsy and a little bit auteur, people freak out over it, and they're like, it's the next, it's great that this indie movie is going to get huge, and it gets an Oscar look, and it gets all this stuff. But because this is Lee Winnell, who he wrote, he helped write Saw with James Wan, he directed Insidious 3. This, by the way, directorial effort wise, Upgrade is a beautifully directed movie.
Yeah, it's
you
really
can
well
see
done.
his marks all over it. Insidious 3 was all right, it was fine, but compared to that, this is night and day.
I think he's definitely shown that he can direct an action movie.
And a sci-fi movie too.
Yeah.
And just he puts a lot of work into the way he moves the camera, the way he shifts from scene to scene, the way that he has his characters move. It's a fucking perfectly directed film. It just is.
The main thing that I think that
But no,
we can say
I didn't finish my thought.
Oh God, I thought you were done.
It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
But when the thing that pisses me off is that because it's not, I don't want to say altruistic and indie enough. People aren't talking about it or giving it enough credit, because it is by the numbers. There's not a whole lot to it. It's not really deep. It's not setting out to be that. And all the things that I think a lot of moviegoers, like you said, old people go to the theater. I think old people go to the theater for movies like this because they're the ones that don't give a fuck if everybody's tweeting and talking about it or whatever. They just want an original piece of a movie. So I think that it's a shame that a movie like this, they don't even expect to do that well, when it's the kind of movie that should do well. And word of mouth should get out there. People be like, this movie's kick-ass. It's sci-fi. It's fun. It's got a really cool Blade Runner feel to it. There's a lot of Blade Runner vibes. And it's a shame that because it's not a little bit more, it's not a little more artsy fartsy, people aren't talking about it in the same way.
I think, it's one of those movies that, unfortunately, because we live in a post-superhero society, that these movies just would get buried really quickly under the radar, and unfortunately that's just the case of it. Back in the 90s that we mentioned this, we've talked about this multiple times, those throwback action films would be all the rave. And there was a time, I guess from 1988 on to 1994, 95, where there was, or 96 even, there was just a giant, massive amounts of people that were going to see, kind of not low intellectual action films, but the kind of films that you sit through, you throw some popcorn in your mouth, you have a good time, you get a blowjob from your girlfriend, whatever it may be, and then go out of the theater feeling like a badass. You just had a good time.
We all stood up and clapped at the end of Independence Day.
And you had to, zip up your fly.
We fucking did.
But but unfortunately, we don't live in that society anymore. We live more in a post-superhero society. And there's nothing, look, I'm the first to admit that I love the fucking superhero tentpole movies. I love all that shits. But there is something about going back and having those kind of action films available to you on the big screen, and they're new and they're fresh, and maybe they've taken liberties with certain story plots or story elements and kind of mixed them in. They're not exactly original, but really in this world, what is, and thrown out on the big. But it's still cool that they exist. In this movie, for example. You mentioned Jason Bourne. There's a very much a Jason Bourne vibe, but there's also a RoboCop vibe. There's a Jean-Claude Van Damme cyborg thing going on. A little bit of Death Sentence, which I know that was in the 2000s, but still, it all coalesces perfectly in this movie. And the only thing that really took me out of it, sometimes I don't know if it's the writing or if it was the acting or the directing or whatever it may be, but sometimes I think they spend a little bit too much time on certain elements that just felt like kind of fractured and not really in the right place as far as the flow of a movie goes. They would have an arrest in the momentum of the movie after something really cool happened or something that was revealed, and then you really get pumped up, and then it takes you back down for a second and it wants to explain a plot point. You're like, I don't give a fuck. that you have to be 4'9" to be on this ride. I'm already on it. I don't care if that one kid's not going to get on the ride. Fuck his father. So, but it was kind of like that. It was like up and down roller coaster sometimes with the momentum. But still, in the end, it held up to its end of the bargain. And I definitely didn't regret at all paying my $9.50 for a ticket, which is cheap, I know, to a lot of you guys, but I know people.
Mine was $10.50. Mine was $10.50.
I got $9.50, and I got a great theater with a bunch of old folk that we talked about stories and things.
Let's talk about Logan Marshall Green real quick. Okay. I have a weird
crush.
Now, well,
he does look like Tom Hardy.
He's just like fucking Tom Hardy. I know. The guy's career is strange for me because, like, sometimes there's just a certain way he acts. You mentioned RoboCop. It's like Joel Kinnaman. Sometimes Joel Kinnaman's a really good actor, and then sometimes he has this, like, I don't know if it's like a street thing that he does.
Like, it was a street thing.
There's just some attitude about him that I don't like. It feels like, somebody you meet around here.
Disingenuous.
Like, yeah. Somebody you meet around like Winchester or some shit like that. It's like, why are you trying to go hard? But,
I'm just talking pillow talk.
Pillow talking with a bitch. Yeah. But sometimes Logan Marshall Green kind of has that a little bit. But then sometimes he's great. Like, I think I got off on the wrong foot with him because I always remember Prometheus, and I fucking hated his character in Prometheus, but then again, you were supposed to. He was a cunt bag. He was a cunt waffle iron, and nobody liked him. I didn't like that role, that character, anything about it. But then again, he also did Devil, which you can say what you want about Devil. It's one of those weird produced M. Night Shyamalan movies, but he was okay in that. And then you've got him in The Invitation, in which everybody thought he was Tom Hardy in that movie, but he was really good in that. Mm-hmm. Like, and then he was really good in this too. So I think I'm on that train now. For a little bit there, I was like, I don't fucking like that guy. But I think that was just Prometheus. I think that he did really good in this. He was likable. You see in the trailer when Stim takes over and he starts doing badass karate shit. His like surprise and like his naivety to it is really fun to watch. Like, he's pretty funny. And the movie, you know what I noticed too? I think Marvel has me built to look for certain jokes in certain moments. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because they're good at it, but they do it a little bit too much sometimes.
You're like a trained bitch in their circus.
Yeah, exactly. I like a circus seal.
When I snap the whip, the lion says, "What up?"
But there's a couple times where I thought, here comes this joke, and they didn't do it. Like, they would do one joke, and then they would get back to serious territory, and I appreciated that.
I would say, I don't want to give a lot away about certain moments in the film until we actually get into a spoilerific kind of territory. But there is a moment at the very beginning, which I think not the very, very beginning, but more towards the middle of the beginning of the movie, that it does explore, I think, the spectrum of the guy as far as his acting ability, because there's one particular part, and I don't think I can tell you guys without spoiling the movie, but there's one particular part where a tragedy has occurred, and his mother is there, and she's kind of helping him.
Did you almost cry, dude?
I did.
I did too.
I literally almost cried. But don't say it like that, like we're fucking like frat bros.
I was alone in the theater.
I was too. I know. I was looking for your hand in the left seat, and there was nobody. So I touched an old person's hand. I'm like, you have experience. But no, I mean, yeah, it was. It was one of those things that really hit you.
Use my tears as lubrication.
It did, and I did use it as lubrication, and went home and thought about my life. But no, yeah, there is a moment, and for some reason it doesn't catch you off guard necessarily. It's not like you didn't see it coming, but it's done so eloquently. I think it's done with such a kind of a passion.
Yeah.
That and the guy is selling it so well that you're like, man, you're able to put yourself in those particular Nikes for a moment and just be like, I wear Reeboks, but at this point I'm wearing Nikes, and I feel it. Like, I understand, like, your life is kind of fucked.
Hey,
like, your life is over, and this is your reality now. And you at this point, your brain just hits the wall, and you're like, "Fuck!" I mean, fuck.
Are they those
shit?
Are they those Reese Nikes from Terminator? I always love those Nikes.
No,
when he breaks into the department store, and he gets the green long coat, and then they're kind
of like the forest green Kobe Bryant shoes that came out, and nobody liked them. They
Black Mamba.
They were bad ones, but yeah, that in that moment, it was just like, man, this guy has got a lot of acting ability, and I think untapped potential.
He was great in that moment.
And I honestly think it's, and I wanted to kind of rag on him a bit in some of the scenes that happened, but again, I don't know if it was his acting at all. Sometimes I think it was just a bad directorial choice, or maybe a possible bad writing part of the script, that it just didn't deliver the line, or not that he didn't deliver the line, but it just didn't work in that particular scene. But me and Mike aren't directors, so I don't fucking know. I'm just saying, overall, that guy's underrated. I think he's actually a pretty underrated actor, to be honest. And yes,
See, I didn't even pick up on that. I never saw what you saw there.
you didn't see what a Dorito coming across the screen.
If I did, I would have eaten it.
It was there.
God damn it, I fucking love Doritos. That's the best fucking.
What are you
shit
talking
in
about?
the
What
world.
didn't you see?
I didn't see the
range.
No, I didn't see the bad acting or the.
No, okay.
I know you're not saying bad acting, but
But there. Well, okay. So my point, like, I don't. Again, it was a small thing for me, but it was sometimes when he's talking to this entity that's in his brain after things have been done, that he's confused, he's not sure what's happening, and then he's like, what who it was kind of believable at first, but then it was like, who is that? What have you done? I don't believe you. Get out of my face. Okay. And it just felt very like wooden almost. And it could have just been a stale writing part or a passage of the script. I don't know. It didn't come off as clean as the other scenes had come off up to that point, because I think that you had such a great momentum going with that drama that we're talking about that almost that kind of teared up.
Yeah.
And then you go into something else.
Too lighthearted for you?
It wasn't lighthearted. Well, I felt like, again, maybe
Moving
you know
past
what that could be what it was. Maybe it was forced, like a forced comedy moment. It was like it just didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that might have. That's why maybe it took me out of it, because it's like, okay, now you're trying to make yourself funny and it's really not working.
Tell you what, dude, the way he moved was really dope.
I love that.
When it took him over and he would move robotically. They did that so fucking well.
When he raises up the bed with no support whatsoever from his legs and it's just his upper back.
Yeah.
That made me feel like when I'm late for work and I have to be there. You just rise up from the bed.
When I hit that first sip of coffee in the morning.
Yeah, it's immediate. Yeah,
dude, it was amazing. Like the robotic movements he would have, like it felt really, really authentic. Like because the whole idea is that this thing it's called stem because it's I
don't know what
it stems those nerves together so that he can move his body and he can control it or whatever.
Yeah.
But just the way that he would move, man, the movements were so authentic and real. Like it was just it was it made the fucking movie.
Well, I mean, I don't think we're giving anything away by saying the name of the entity. I mean, we're not telling you exactly what it did or what it does for him, but its name is Stem, so we'll just get that out of the way. It's already been said, but yes, he does move a certain way with this thing with him, and it did feel like the commitment level that he had. Again, it's another sign of a great actor, the way that he's able to show that on camera. It reminded me of Peter Weller, and we mentioned RoboCop, but Peter Weller had to practice moving like a robot to kind of get those movements down when he became RoboCop, and it was fucking, again, a great imitation of what it would be like, I guess, if you had those movements or abilities of a robotic entity. So
yeah, it was badass.
So anyway, but I don't know. Even the music was good. Like, I mean, and again, I appreciate the fact that they didn't go too far and crazy with the future stuff. Like, it wasn't. It didn't go so crazy that you're like, okay, now I'm watching Steven Spielberg's AI.
Really Blade Runner, man. It was very, very Blade Runner in that, like, it was futuristic, but it wasn't trying to be fancy. Like, there were some beautiful, beautiful shots, like the dude's house. That was cool.
I know, I wanted to live there. I was like, how much was your 401k?
Yeah, like, everyone's house and their cars were cool. And, like, it just... The whole movie, the look of it, the music was very Blade Runner. It was, but not too much. Like, it didn't copy off of it, but...
Yeah, it was like the future was more functional rather than, like, fantasy.
When he meets the head of this company, that dude made me laugh several times, though. It's just, it was an actor I've never seen before. It's this blonde-headed dude, and he's sitting up there doing his Tony Stark thing when he meets him. And when the dude turns around, I literally thought it was going to be Jared Leto.
I thought it was. I thought he looked like Dane DeHaan's brother.
He really looked like.
He looked like Dane DeHaan's brother off NSYNC.
The way that they played him up when you didn't see his face and you just saw the back of his head for a little bit. When he turned around, I was like, it's Jared Leto in literally Blade Runner 2049, which I haven't even seen yet. But it just felt like that to me. But yeah, no, that guy totally looked like Dane DeHaan.
Yeah. Look, I mean, guys, I don't know what else we can say really in a non-spoiler review of it, because it's not like we want to tell you how great it was, but at the same time we want you to go see it. And it's not like, look,
we'll talk spoilers here in a
second.
We
will. Just do yourself a fucking favor and go see it. Like, actually do yourself the favor, reward yourself with an ice cream cone first and some Skittles, and then go see this movie, and then reward yourself afterwards with some sex. Because it's going to make you feel like that. It's going to make you feel badass when you leave the theater. And I haven't felt like this awesome and cool, like, leaving the theater, like, ever, because I am already that. But since, like, I watched Dredd. When we went and watched Dredd with Carl Urban, it's been a while since I've seen an action movie that really, like, the octane, the high octane, the adrenaline stuff really burst my bubbles. And I was like, man, I'm really fucking having a good time, and I'm going to leave the theater, and it's going to be great. So, yeah, definitely don't worry about, you know, the Halloween stuff or whatever in regards to this. Just go see it, have a good time, take a buddy, or go by yourself. Because it's one of those movies that I think that you're able to have a good time with a crowd, or you're just able to have a good time watching it and be like, I'm really interested in what's happening right now. And by the way, we'll save it for the spoiler, but the end fucking rocks. Like, the end is really fucking well done. And there's subtle hints throughout the film and to the ultimate resolution of the film that you're like, damn, that's amazing how they actually slid little tiny details into certain parts of the film to maybe show the end of what happened. It was cool, man.
So I ultimately, we'll get into the spoilers here in just a second. I'm going to give this a strong 8.5. I think it's original enough. You know, it's quite original enough. I think I can't say enough about Leigh Whannell's directing in this movie. Like, the jump he took from Insidious 3 to this movie is amazing, and like it's directed so well, and it doesn't try to be anything like fucking hoity-toity. It's just a good movie. It's fun to watch. It's got some badass sci-fi. It's got some badass action. There's a little bit of humor. There's some emotion in it. It's got a little bit of everything you want, and it's in this condensed, just 90-minute, just good original flick that just, it is what it is. And if we really want to hold on to movies and, like, you know, what they are beyond just VOD original movies, we don't get a lot of original pieces of art in theaters these days. Everything's tied to a project. Everything's tied to something else. It's the way it's got to be. But it's what you gotta love about Blumhouse and Blumhouse Tilt is that these movies get made, and they happen because of this company. And that's everybody knows that I love them so much, and that's one of the reasons why. But I give it a strong 8.5. It's got a couple problems with it. Like I said, the wish-washiness between the character. I wanted him to go full on revenge mode and fuck some shit up, and I feel like we missed out because he didn't a little bit. Couple, as you call it, the soggy diaper. Every once in a while, the plot gets a little heavy in there.
Hate those soggy diapers.
But it's just it's a sci-fi fucking action blast, and it's so easy to watch and take in. You should definitely go see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9.0. I had some hang-ups about it for sure, but at the end of the day, I had a great time watching it. I don't think anybody that was a fan of those 90s action flicks wouldn't have a good time watching it. And it does show that there is still, you know, a demand for those kind of movies. I mean, this guy, what was his name that directed it?
Leigh Whannell.
Leigh Whannell of the clan of Whannell. He went out and said, I don't care if it's got the tracking numbers to make a sequel. I don't care that it's going to be a tentpole movie or not. I just want to make a really cool movie that I have a good time making.
I get fucked up and play cards with my friends.
Let's get lit and jump off my roof. But if it felt like that kind of, he just, like, you can tell he's an action fan. You can tell that he liked those action kind of films when he was growing up, and he threw his elements in there, and he threw some graphic, violent stuff in there.
There's some horror moments, right?
Because it's kind of like, he threw his own John Woo stuff in there, like John Woo film, and then he also threw his own Quentin Tarantino violent moments in it, and it mixed so well, and it's so well done with great, for the most part, acting to go along with it, and a good buildup of villains that you fucking love to hate. That at the end of the day, I don't know why anybody would be like surprised that it made some money. Like, I mean, you know, it may not be. I fucking hope it does. Like, I want it to go by word of mouth. Like, people be like, "Have you heard this movie called Upgrades?" Like, yeah, like, who the fuck you been, Alaska? Like, I want it to be like that, but I don't know if it ever will. But I hope it does, and I hope there's more movies like this that come out. Like, I mean, and Blumhouse Tilt, which I didn't even know that was a thing. The Blumhouse Tilt. Yeah. Like, I knew Blumhouse, and then if it was a horror movie, it's always that weird herky-jerky girl that walks on screen, and I know I'm in for a fucking scare time, but I didn't know the Tilt part, so I didn't see her walking. I'm like, oh, so is that their action
It's another
department?
faction. I think Tilt is, I don't know this, but I think that it's where they kind of put movies that are a little bit original, but they don't really tie to a genre that they can kind of play with a little
I like it because, you know, Blumhouse Tilt made me feel filth. So, I'm glad that a company like that exists where they're trying to, in a way, redefine horror movies, but also kind of just keep alive the idea of cool ass action stories as well. So yeah, dude, 9.0, 8.5 from Mike. Love the shit out of it.
So if you haven't seen Upgrade, stop listening to this podcast. We want you guys to experience it for yourself, and it's making it really perfect because right at 30 minutes, we'll start talking spoilers.
Yep, so
Here we go. First off, spoiler thing we got to talk about is the surprise goddamn gore in that one fucking scene, right? Well, we'll start. Well, we'll start from the beginning real quick. We won't make this too long.
So we'll talk about what's going on, and I don't want to make it like forever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's just breeze through it real quick.
The main thing is that his the guy's a mechanic. He's fucking hanging out in his garage, and he works on cars for his life or for his daily stuff. And then his wife comes home, and basically what happens is that the bad guys are sent out to fucking take her down because she works for a cobalt engine, like I don't know, like it was like some kind of electronic or mechanic, I don't know, robotics company, and wants to take her down and leaves him paraplegic. And after that, he's doing the whole thing that we talk about, hard to kill, and he gets contacted by an Aaron, I don't know, what was his, Aaron Deaton?
I don't remember his name.
It was like Aaron something. Well, it was Aaron Deaton. I believe it was Aaron Deaton. He contacts him, and like he's one of the guys that the main guy had also been in contact with and helped him. Like he sold a car to him. He gives him like this fucking thing called STEM, which is a thing that reconnects his spinal cord and makes him the badass Jason Bourne that we love to know, and what makes the movie so cool. But we'll get more into that. But what were you saying? What was you saying?
So the first fucking action scene that you get is when he finally decides to go after this shit. He goes to this guy, and it shocked the shit out of me because when he kills the guy, he sneaks into his house. The STEM thing's telling him what to do, but we mistakenly didn't watch the Red Band trailer when we did the trailer reaction for this, so we had no idea this was coming. But it shocked the shit out of me because he goes in this house and the guy's like, yeah, I had something to do with it, whatever. They have fucking guns in their hands, which is kind of cool. When they're putting the fucking bullets in their biceps, it's weird, but it's cool. I dig it. But when he kills this fucking guy, he takes the knife and happy time murders the motherfucker in the mouth. Like, just shoves the fucking knife in his mouth and pulls a smiley face on him. That shocked the shit out of me. That was really cool. And I think it took a lot of people in the theater by surprise, too, because everybody gave a gigantic gasp to that.
Which is a good thing that we didn't watch the Red Band trailer, because that was a good surprise. That was a nice surprise when you saw that. When you saw that for the first fucking... I mean, not that we shouldn't have watched the Red... We didn't know it existed, but I didn't know that part was coming. And I knew like the whole thing when he was fighting him in the kitchen and he was like doing that whole... the glasses and shit shattering. But then when he fucking takes the knife and the stem is like, I've got this, and pulls that shit back and cuts his fucking head almost in half. Good time, son.
It was one of those cool things, like... you can sense that Lee Winnell never wanted to go too deep in any direction. Like, you got that little horror moment and you're thinking there's going to be a lot of that, but there's not. There's only a couple little scenes of it. It just adds to the originality of the film, and I like that a lot. But you talk about the futuristic stuff, like her car was self-driving, was badass. All the stuff that's going on with Tesla and the self-driving cars that are wrecking themselves and stuff like that. I don't know if that was a purposeful play on that. But the bad guy who comes up, he has a really cool bad guy moment when he kills his wife. He walks up to her and he's like, you just look like the kind of girl that thinks every man's like a piece of shit on her shoe, or whatever it was he said. And then just boom, just fucking shoots her out of fucking nowhere. And I thought it was pretty obvious when they shot him and the way that they shot him that they were coming directly from this I'm going to call him Elon Musk. I'll just call him Elon Musk for fun.
Who the hell is that?
The guy who owns Tesla, like the space guy. You don't know who Elon Musk is?
No, I don't follow the space program. I don't give a fuck.
I'm going to call him that for starting. The Jared Leto looking guy whose house they go to, whose house was dope as fuck, by the way. Basically, he's an Iron Man, but like a fucked up, weird emo Blade Runner Iron Man.
He owns Verizon.
Yeah, you just knew because he made fun of his shit. He was like, well, I look at your little toy and I see 10 guys on the unemployment line or whatever. You knew that guy had something to do with it. And if they had left the twist at that, I'd have been like, that's pretty disappointing, because it was... I knew it immediately. As soon as those guys showed up, it was like that guy sent them to do that. But
it was pretty predictable.
He wanted a guinea pig for his his little toy or whatever.
I want to say though that Philippe motherfucker, like the Dane DeHaan looking guy, the blonde hair, he had a badass house. It was fucking rock entrance. It was like just a rock, and then they walked down. I'm like, damn, it's a little presumptuous, but it's fucking pretty damn cool too. Yeah, it's like it would be like one of those things like immediately when you're walking, they're like, this guy has a small wiener, but I mean it's no big deal.
Dude didn't even have a door though. Like he had no door. Like what do you do with it?
I think they had a security, but they ran out of money because they couldn't really show the. But
if it rains, those steps go straight down. You're gonna flood your house. It's a terribly designed.
But I want to say that the main bad guy with the what was it?
Mustachio. We'll call him.
I know, but Jeff Foxworthy's fucking mustache.
Yeah.
This guy looked like a 1974 French pornographer.
Yeah.
Like he had that greasy quality to him.
Yeah.
And he was skinny, and he didn't really have any intimidation factor. Like nothing about him was screaming like he'll fuck you up. But he had these implants in him, and he had a gang that he ran with that all had these cybernetic implants, and they were like former army, military kind of guys. But he had this fucking asshole attitude about him too. Like, I know I'm better than everybody else, and that's just because I have robotic technology in my nipples. And it was like, dude, you're a bitch, like you're a joke guy, but you have all this stuff, and without those things, you'd be like a loser.
Yeah.
But he had this attitude. I mean, you wanted him to die in the most gruesome, grisly, greasy way that you could possibly think of, because he was just a bitch throughout the entire movie. And I like that. That was a cool kind of character development they had with him. I mean, he's not the most fleshed out, like I mentioned the non-spoiler, but still pretty damn cool.
And the best part about this movie, I thought, was I had a lot of fun when he's trying to figure out who the bad guys were or whatever, and Stim starts to talk to him, and then you learn what Stim can do. Like, finding out about that was really fun, because, and like, I don't know, superhero origin territory, you go into there when you're learning what your powers are. Way more funner than the typical version of that. But when he's talking to Stim and he's in his house and he's helping him because it's the future and you got drones and everybody has these chips like we're fucking dogs. Typically you can find, and there's a movie on Netflix that just came out about this with Clive Owen in it, but it's in the future, and you can find out who anybody is really quickly with drones and all that. These people have found a way around it or whatever, but one of the best parts of the movie was him investigating it, trying to figure out what was going on. At the same time, you're learning what Stim can do. That stuff was really cool. Where it went a little bit downhill for me was when he went to the detective, and they kind of shoehorned this detective character in, which everything that she had to do with, I didn't care about. At one point, he's like, "Why don't you not talk to me like a fucking 3-year-old?" And I was like, "Thank you." I was thinking the same goddamn thing.
I think that she was a waste of space in the film. I really think that she could have been in it for like 1 second, because nobody cared about her little subplot that they try to shoehorn into the movie.
It was one of the
because
bad,
it was literally it was one of those things that when she would show up at the fucking house, she's a buzzkill. Like, we're having a great fucking party and everything's going great, the momentum is going, and then boom, hey, guess what? Your mom's coming home early and you're fucked.
Exactly.
Wow. Like, really? Can you just call before you come over? I don't know. Like, maybe some of you all liked her. I didn't like her.
It wasn't even her. It was just like, she knows it's him. Like, who gives a fuck?
I think it was one of her characters. I think it was one of the things. Again, they were trying to. I don't know what they were throwing in. Maybe trying to add a little bit more variety and kind of like throwing in the cops and they're on to him, and I don't know. But dude, at the end of the day, I didn't need it. I didn't want it. I don't think the movie would have suffered without it. I think if he had just been the one that got the surgery, which he does, to have Stim put on his spinal cord, and then the whole movie being about him investigating and finding out, where these bad guys are and who they are. Like, I would fucking love it. You could have cut off 10 minutes of the movie for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think they should have too. And what's great when the movie's at its best is when he goes to the bar and he's sitting there. He's like, "Hey, could you?"
It was badass. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, are you? It got a little bit confusing there, because like, are you trying to hide it, or are you trying to show everybody? Because then all of a sudden he acts like a badass in front of everybody and almost gives it away, because he's like, I'm looking for a man named Bucho.
I think it was like one of those. It does come back to the point where Stim even tells him, "Don't get overconfident," because I think he was feeling like, "Hey, I'm fucking bad. I'm like a cybernetic organism from fucking awesome.
I'm a cybernetic organism."
Yeah, T1800. But yeah, so
love a baby baga pampos.
Yeah, there was so many cool death scenes. Like the scene with the Ginsu knife through half the fucking head's badass. When he tracks down another member in the bar that Mike mentioned, and he cuts his ass up. But before that happens, he has this cool fight scene with like 8 guys around him in the bathroom, and he fucks them all up in a cool ass way, in a very Steven Seagal way, mind you. There's no kicking, there's no crying in baseball. He uses his fucking hands for the most part and fucks them all up, and that's a really cool scene. Then when he interrogates him, very intense. I will say that's the main point of this movie. It's very intense. When it gets you, it grips you. It's intense. It takes you on that momentum ride, and you're feeling fucking awesome as you're watching it progress higher and higher, and you don't know when it's going to let off. But unfortunately, sometimes, with the cop plot and then other little tiny things that they throw in there, you're like, I didn't need it. it does tend to take you out into a boring level.
Yeah, and that eventually takes you to the end of the movie. It's a short. You gotta love the short run.
I love that.
They really get.
It could have even been shorter, but it's still good.
Yeah, it takes you to the end of the movie where you find out. And it's obvious that Dane DeHaan's character set this whole thing up, and you find that out. But where the twist comes in is that Stim is like, no, fuck this shit, dude. Like I'm on, and also we forgot to mention this, the whole hacker thing. It was cool at first.
Yeah.
It was cool at
Jamie.
first. Yeah, because he's like, hey, he's hacking you. He's going to shut you down. He's going to make you paraplegic again. But like you said about the girl, it just kind of takes you out of the fun. I want to see what he can do. I want to see him do more shit.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see him get his. We just saw him get his powers finally. Not his powers, but we just saw him get these abilities, and now immediately we have to get him taken away.
Not to mention from a girl. Guy, whatever. Don't assume her gender is what she says in the movie. Whoopty. But okay, but it does. It's not needed. It's again another part of the scene that's not needed. But again, there is one thing though they do say when she kind of leaves him. She's kind of hacked him and got the signal block from Dane DeHaan from Philippe. I don't know his name. His name's not Dane DeHaan, but the guy that's running the shit that we think Blondie. That she's like, we can't let them win, and then she runs off into the darkness. It's like, why though? Why do we need these fucking weird mystique things? Because it's not really something that we need in this movie.
It was cool at first because it felt like almost a video game checkpoint. Like, oh, now I got to do this side.
That's
thing
what it was.
Quick.
It was a fucking checkpoint.
Or
like, I don't need to be here.
Yeah.
I could have done that side mission.
It felt like it could have been like Crank or some shit, like something you just have to do. And in the middle of all of this, like, boom, here's a curveball. It was kind of cool in that way, but ultimately, it didn't really add to everything.
Do you also notice that like when he had those fight scenes, other than maybe the last the scene with Jeff Foxworthy, the most of those scenes when he had those fights, he fucked him up really fast. Like I mean, it was ridiculously fast. Like he would fuck.
Shows you the power of Stim.
I know, but they all are cybernetically enhanced too. But he would like There's one part where Stim is like, I'm just gonna end this quick, and the guy runs up on the rooftop, and he's like fucks him up really fast and turns his fucking gun hand on his face and blows his fucking head off.
Oh, that was gnarly.
I know, and I'm like, damn.
That reminded me of Hills Have Eyes, the remake, when the dude blows his brains off in the shitter.
Yeah, that kind of reminded you like when you're hanging out with a friend that seems meek, and then you're like, that guy got game. That guy got game.
He go hard.
That guy got game. But yeah, it was. It's like, damn, he could fucking do it.
That was a cool scene. It goes to the end though, and there's a face off where he realizes that Jared Leto's character is a part of it. So he goes after him, and Stim's in full on mode now. Like, I can do what I want to, and he's almost telling. And one of the things we didn't like is Stim all of a sudden has to force him to do shit now. He's like, no, you're going to kill these people.
I didn't like that part.
I'm sorry, I can't do that, Dave. Very fucking.
It was exactly like Dave.
Yeah, but I just wanted Logan Marshall Green to want these guys to die because they killed his fucking girlfriend. You
got to commit to the life
or wife. Yeah, that's what I wanted. That like I wanted just to go fuck. And I get what they were trying to do because they're trying to make him seem like an everyman, like a guy who's a really good guy. He really doesn't want to kill, but he couldn't make his mind up either. He's like, I want to kill, but I don't. But I'm back and forth. Let's just go.
He's just like a blue collar dude.
Now, let's fucking strap. Let's do the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing in Commando. Let's raid the fucking local hardware / gun store. Let's fucking strap up and go after these motherfuckers now. Like that's all I wanted. But they go to the end of the movie. He goes down and he in a main fight with the Jack Foxworthy character. Pretty cool, Pretty cool fight.
That was one of the, I'm just glad the motherfucker died and showed his true color, like being a bitch. Because after he taunts him enough, again, they're both cybernetically enhanced, and what the Jeff Foxworthy character is saying to him is like, I want to train you, I want to make you a part of our clique and crew, and you were chosen on purpose by Philippe, blonde-haired man. This is what you're meant to do, and they fight. It's a very cool, like up close kind of, and the way the camera moves, very very Jason Bourne actually, and Mission Impossible kind of fight scene.
Yeah.
And then, but supposedly this Jeff Foxworthy guy is telling some great jokes because you can't go through his defenses, and even Stim says he's predicting all my moves, and I'm out of options. And then he's like, do something, Gray, which is the main guy's name. He's like, do something. And then what he does is he starts making fun of him, or he's like, your brother was one of the guys I killed, and he screamed like a bitch, pretty much. And that day there was no soldier.
Begged.
And
like a dog.
Yeah, so
Batman Begins.
Yeah. He goes, I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you. And then, Jeff Foxworthy loses control of his emotions, acts out of order, and that gives Stem the opportunity to fuck him up. And then what he does is pretty cool. He pushes his head on a broken piece of computer glass that just goes through it. I mean, it was really well done. I mean, it wasn't as satisfying as I wanted to be, but it felt good. It felt nice.
And he quickly kills Philippe with the knife that's stuck in his hand, just right to the brain. But what's really cool here, what the super twist is when Philippe tells him, he's like, actually, I'm not the bad guy. I created Stem, but I'm just doing what Stem tells me because it's even got control of me. Yeah. And Stem's been running this show the whole fucking time. He handpicked Logan Marshall Green. And then it's this fucking Terminator scene where he turns on the cop, fucking shoots her, and walks out of that bitch with black eyes. And like, just walks out like a badass.
He's like fucking Apocalypse.
And ballsy as hell, title drop, fucking movie ends.
I think that, pretty much what they show is that
Stem is the man.
Stem is a man-shine.
It's the fucking Terminator.
He's a man-shine.
It's a man-china.
He's a, oh God, you got to get that looked at, son. He's basically, Stem, he became self-aware. He's an AI he's J5, I'm alive, but he can kick ass.
Everyone throw away your Alexis.
But what I was going to say earlier...
It's an Alexis Stormfire.
In the non-spoiler review, when I mentioned the fact that they dropped subtle hints about this, there are moments throughout it that Gray is seeing the visage of his ex or his dead wife, and she's saying, I just printed a pizza, and like he's like, oh, it was so real, I had this dream, or not even a dream, but they're like, well, you had a dream. He's like, no, it's real. Stem was showing him VR aspects of his wife creating this environment eventually to get him to a point to give up. Because at the end, what he does is that Gray retreats all the way into his mind and allows Stem to take fully control of his body, because Stem has always wanted to be human. And so therefore, that was fucking genius level.
Perfect.
Genius level, because again, and I don't know how many of you guys noticed that, the little subtle hints and drops they had with his wife that would just show up randomly.
Yeah.
And it was like, Stem was like, I know what you want, and I'm dropping these little hints, getting you prepared for the moment.
He's just putting the tip in.
Yeah, because there's one moment at the very end that he becomes pregnant. No, there's one that Gray is fighting it, and Stem has already warned him. He's like, if you fight me, your brain will break.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm in control, because Stem is controlling and then like you think he shoots himself, and then he wakes up in the hospital and his wife's there, and she's like, you were in a terrible car accident. I honestly thought, okay, so they're going to kind of go from here, kind of just leave it here, that it was maybe some kind of test from some kind of cybernetic research, whatever. But no, you find out that he created this whole scenario so that Gray would leave the whole body to him. So
do you know why
Stem gets what he wants?
Why that ending is so perfect and so well written by a guy who wrote Saw and wrote Insidious. You know, it's so well written because you get as the audience member, and this has a 100% audience score right now on Rotten Tomatoes. By the way. As the audience member, you get the best of both worlds. You know, you don't get the bullshit happy ending, but you also get a happy ending because he's retreated to it. He gets what he wants. He has no idea what's going on. He's completely oblivious and naive. He's happy in a place with his wife now, and he's good to go. But you also get the badass ending of the bad guy winning out and walking out like a fucking boss to the music.
I did like.
You get the best of both worlds.
I didn't want Stem to die.
Great written ending.
I did not want Stem to die. I felt as close to him as I did to Jarvis. I didn't want him to fucking. And you know what? I know he's a bad guy and he doesn't really distinguish about killing.
But he's like, so cool.
He wants to fucking do it because he's like, it's in my way and they want to exterminate my life. So fuck you. And I really hope. Also, by the way, I want to point out, like, some of you are like, well, it's not even a happy ending in that regard because it's fake, it's VR. But you guys remember the end of Inception. You don't know if the fucking thing was still spinning. Yeah. I mean, you just accepted the fact that whether or not it was fake or a dream, he got to live out his days happy. I hope that I don't want a sequel. Now that I'm thinking about it, and the more I'm thinking about it, it would be cool. But at the same time, I really don't want to see one because it's such a good standalone story. It really kind of encapsulates everything that I like in an action film.
But I do want to know, where the fuck does Stem go? Like, what's his purpose now? What does he want to do?
He wants to upgrade the iPhone.
but like that, and that's really interesting to me because now we'll talk about whether or not there's going to be a sequel. Lee Winnell said, look, it's not going to make enough to make a sequel. I'm sure of that. But if there is a sequel, there's cool places you could go, and you could go back and forth with this. Because imagine, like, okay, so we get a movie now, it's Terminator, Terminator 2. Like, Terminator at first, right, is the bad guy. Terminator 2, he's a good guy. This is vice versa.
Yeah.
And this Stim's the bad guy. And Upgrade 2, you maybe get to see Stim take over Logan Marshall Green's body and become this unstoppable force. And everyone's trying to you got your good guy character now, bring in a new good guy. He's trying to stop. You got a human versus unstoppable force. It's that awesome juxtaposed position where you get to root for the weaker character, the underdog. And then in future sequels, what they could do is maybe in the third movie, talking about if the franchise goes really deep, you could have, okay, the only way to stop him is to somehow get to Logan Marshall Green's character. Somehow get to him inside of there and let him know that this is fake. He's using your body to do terrible things, and get this guy who you built up as a good person, who even had bad feelings about murdering the people who killed his wife, to come out of that and stop himself from doing this. Then maybe you could use him as a full-on good guy who's capable of his powers, almost a superhero thing. You can go crazy places with this franchise, man. You could go full-on fucking Terminator-verse with this franchise if people go see it and it makes a lot of money, which that remains to be seen.
I think it's one of those things. You're in a catch-22, because at this point, like, if you did do a sequel to this and you try to create a Terminator type verse, which is it's possible, but it would be hard, because it has so many different elements other than Terminator. It's its own beast. This one is in the future. It's got more of a Minority Report mixed with, like,
it has a right
Ready Player One.
It has a right to do the Terminator thing more than anything else.
But the catch-22 comes from the fact would studios get involved, and at this point, Upgrade 2 might not even be about, STEM. It might be about something. Upgrade 2, the next evolution. I could see the studios get involved and fucking things up and not letting that good taste leak on your mouth.
Blumhouse has done with their other sequels. Look at The Purge. Their sequels.
The Purge is a totally. Purge is like it's a totally. This movie, while it lends itself to possibilities of sequels, and that universe is open for any kind of interpretation you want as far as where they could go. Because I think it's honestly a parable about how we all are becoming more and more reliant on technology, and technology taking over, more even so than even Skynet becoming a fucking thing.
It's
because STEM is AI. Like it even says at the end of the movie, it has become self-aware to a point where it just wants to be human. It wants to experience. Yeah. It doesn't say why it wants to experience human stuff. But
I think that's a theme.
I could get to a point where it'd be stupid, because now it wants to wipe out life on Earth because it doesn't think it's up to snuff.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's a theme. I think it's a fun theme they're playing with. But I think the overall theme of the movie, like the overall meaning of the movie, is fun sci-fi badass flick. I think that whole technology thing is just kind of a subplot to it, and that's where it should stay.
But I'm saying, I don't know. I mean, you could have sequels to it.
I'm fine with it being standalone.
Or you could have a standalone film, like Drive never had a sequel.
It's so rare.
It's not Drive, but it's
so rare that you get a standalone film that I'd be fine with it being that too. I'm just saying, like that. Like there's a lot to play with, man. If it makes the money, I would love to see. Well, imagine seeing, like, forgetting all this origin stuff and explaining stuff, and the character and what he can do. Imagine putting that badass character of Stim as in Logan Marshall Green's body as a bad guy and putting him in the world to fuck shit up like that. It'd be something. Well, it'd be badass.
Well, because I don't think that Stim wouldn't be that way. He's not just a mindless machine with one mission. He's literally an AI. So he would.
We just saw him born, basically.
But I mean, he would create an empire. He would be like, it would be a different. I don't know. If you guys remember Universal Soldier with Dolph Lundgren and Jean-Claude, it should have stayed with Universal Soldier, but they took that universe and Universal Soldier, it sucked ass.
Yeah, but look,
and it sucked even worse ass.
Yeah, but you're picking the one thing that has like the shittiest sequels ever.
But Universal Soldier was a cool ass idea and a badass movie. It should have died with that and not made sequels with it.
Right, but that's like saying one movie made bad sequels, because he never make sequels again.
No, but it's not the only one. Cyborg 2, another Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, was a terrible fucking movie.
Look at Godfather 2.
Godfather 2 is a totally. I mean, Godfather made sense because you have Corleone's.
Look at Terminator 2.
Terminator 2 made sense even because it's time traveling, and Terminator 1 was one machine out of many machines, and it had nothing to do with that whole
that doesn't mean you
enhanced
can't make a
human
sequel without many machines.
No. But my point being, is that yes, if a sequel happens, it would be fine. I don't know if it would capture the same kind of thing, and if it does happen, it's cool. Either way, the movie's fucking badass. It's definitely worth people to go check out and watch it and have a good time watching. And I think that the director, the writer, the stars of the film deserve all sorts of credit because they released this movie in the midst of Halloween, mania. And, basically, I mean, the guys knew it. I mean, they knew that people were going to be like, I mean, I don't know if I really, it's Blumhouse, it's cool, but, because honestly, I didn't even see that many trailers. I mean, we saw the trailer.
Well, Blumhouse is tight to the chest.
I know, I know, but I mean, we saw the trailer, and then there was a Red Band trailer, but I mean, as far as TV goes, I don't even think I saw a television trailer for it.
I mean, I don't even watch TV.
I know, but even if it popped up, it may have popped up just randomly or whatever, or even on YouTube. Like, I've gone through YouTube videos. I barely saw an upgrade trailer.
It's hard to say, man. I hope it does enough for a sequel. But that's the question of the day, though. I guess that's the perfect question, is that do you guys think, if they came up with a really cool idea for it, like if it was really fascinating of an idea for it, would you want to see a sequel, or do you want to just see it being a standalone movie? I'm honestly in both camps. Like, if we don't get enough movies that are just standalone movies. Like, everything has to have a sequel, prequel, remake. Are you going to register
it independent?
Yeah. No, like, but we just don't get enough movies that are standalone. So, like, if they made this a standalone, I'd be happy as shit. I'm like, cool, we need more of that. But at the same time, when my brain gets going, I can't help but think of some really cool places for them to take this. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's one of those selfish ideas because it's like me too. Because I'm thinking of like when it's done really well, when any kind of action film is done really well, and it's you fall in love pretty much with the plot and the idea and the characters and the whole everything that's going on around them and what they're going through. You want a sequel to kind of continue the story, but selfishly, it would probably maybe ruin it. Because in Drive, I mean, it was done so well, and I brought up Drive once, but Drive was done so well, and the way that movie ended, and you're like, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Drive 2 harder, like, or something. And you're like, but then again,
it would never capture.
It would take the majestic part away from that movie.
That's a movie I don't think would ever capture.
But you don't know at the end of that movie. You don't know what he did. I mean, you have no idea what happened at the end of that after the credits rolled.
Yeah, I think that's a white horse.
No, I don't know because I mean I don't know as much. I don't even know how much money it made because it was an actual indie film.
They could do it. I'm just saying. It's one of those. I don't think they could ever recapture Drive.
But either way, we both fucking loved it, and do yourself a favor and go see it. Don't worry about the Halloween stuff and just fucking have a good time and check this movie out for sure. I can't give it enough love.
Fucking A, definitely go see this, guys. Give it your money. It deserves it. Hopefully for Lee Whannell and Blumhouse and everybody else, it does really well. We love your goddamn faces. If you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button and get some motherfucking wham up in you. See how I switch that up? I can do what I want. Stim.
Take off your pants
and jacket. No, your jacket, Jay. Put your dick away. Take off your jacket. It's hot in here.
I know.
We watched a movie. Yeah. We watched a movie. We watched it. We watched a movie. Yeah. You know what? We did a review. We watched a movie. We watched a movie.